Hi, everyone, and welcome to Founder Friday, a series from Microsoft for startups where we sit down with founders building what's next and talk candidly about the journey behind the technology. I'm Shish, and I spend my days working with founders across retail, consumer goods, and emerging tech who are pushing the boundaries of how AI shows up in the real world. And today, I'm really excited to be joined by Dave Cox, founder and CEO of Worlds.io. This is an area that I've learned a lot just from having conversations with Dave, and I'd like to actually bring that out to everybody in Founders Friday and talk about this. Worlds is a fascinating startup that is at the intersection of the physical world and AI. And I'd love to hear more about Worlds AI and share this information. So, Dave, great to have you here. Let's jump right in. So, for the listeners who might not be familiar, what is Worlds and what's the problem you're trying to solve for enterprises?
For sure, yeah. Worlds, we built an AI platform for the physical world. So we're taking AI out of the back office and bringing it directly into the physical operations of the world's largest industrial companies and in the military. The problem we were solving, this is because I sold my last startup back 2019. And after that, it was a back office AI. This one, we wanted to kind of look at AI in the physical world. Back then, it was looking at computer vision. And computer vision was really kind of broken, really. Legacy computer vision, if you think about it, it was really just the world was dynamic and the models were static. And so every time you built a model, the model would break. The model would break almost instantly. And so we came up with this idea of what if we could actually build software or machines that could see and sense the world like people, but on a scale that's not humanly possible. That's really what we've done. We've built a technology that allows we can connect our AI into their existing cameras and sensors and start to take that signal and transform it into live spatial data. So we're taking the real world operations and transforming that into live spatial data, which we can now use to build AI agents and agentic workflows on top of that to solve virtually any real problem.
And I spend a lot of time with retail, consumer goods companies, and I know you have as well. We've been jointly talking to a lot of brands. I'm kind of curious about what is that, outcome, the real tangible things. If you were to look at some of the retail operations and consumer goods operations, something that they could not do in the past that they can do today with Worlds, what would that be?
Well, I think it's funny. The question is awesome because when we go to a company, we have something we call the 100% rule, something we made up. Essentially, what the 100% rule is tell us what you think is happening in your business. This could be in any area, whether it's your warehouses, your distribution center, your shop floor, whatever it is. Tell us what you think is happening. We'll connect Worlds into your environment, and we'll show you what's actually happening, and they're never the same. It's 100% of the time, it's never the same. People don't understand exactly what's happening, in their physical environment. So this ability to show the ground truth, of what's actually happening live in a physical operations is something I think retail customers are just starting to get used to. We kind of stole a term from the military called pattern of life, and so the pattern of life is basically, understanding who's where, when, and what's where, when live, creating a common operating picture of what's happening in the environment at all times. If you can actually do that, then you can, when you understand the world, now you can change it. You're free to change it, right? And so a change occurs in this case with the AI agents and agentic workflows. So, but I think that's been the new thing for retail. They kind of, they're getting used to that. That's possible.
Yeah. Yep. And you were with us at NRF, both in Paris and New York. And I was kind of trying to also, for the audience listening, I was curious about if there was one use case that stands out in retail and consumer goods that, when a retailer listens to it, they say, that's exactly what I want to use Worlds for. What would that use case be?
Yeah, most of our interactions with retail are kind of behind us, the shop floor. So we're actually in warehouses, distribution centers, manufacturing plants, things like that. But I think the area that is most meaningful for us is in the health and safety things. So we're working with a lot of companies on health and safety, and it's something that we get special meaning out because a couple of our environments are actually pretty dangerous. And so we're actually saving lives. But I think I think I'd probably say health and safety is the most meaningful thing that we're working on right now. That's really exciting for us.
Interesting. And that's from a computer vision perspective, that's been an area that I've kind of seen even in manufacturing and everywhere else. That's probably an important aspect. And also, I would imagine, safety being that one thing that is universal across many industries. And also, I was kind of curious about if there was, when you looked at all the different use cases that you've seen out there, that things that you probably never even thought about that is possible, that you had a conversation with the customer and you go, wow, I'd not thought about this. Was there any moment where you came across, there was a use case that you go, I hadn't thought about this when I was conceiving worlds?
Oh, man. Yeah. I think there's probably a few of them, and I think part of that answer is going to be about how we're able to do these things, because the use cases, it's funny when you start a business, right? You're going down that you're trying to do product market fit, so you throw a lot of things against the wall, what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. And so you try a lot of different use cases, and over time patterns start to emerge, and so for us, those patterns really became kind of health and safety, security, and then productivity, so process improvement in those three areas. And so I think, in those areas, boy, I think what's been most amazing for me is how, and this is different from like a year ago. Like if you and I were having this conversation just a year ago, my answer would be really different. Like we can walk into these environments today and literally be up and going within days, hours and days. So we can walk into an environment, we can connect to their existing cameras and sensors and start to build, have a library of agents and applications that kick in and show a pattern of life where we're up and going within days. And so I think about one of the clients we have is one of the largest engine manufacturers in the world. And we literally went from 0 to 1. So for the time we connected their cameras and sensors to having agents that are looking for unsafe behaviors and notifying them when they're happening and keeping records of all the things and showing how the differences between the different shifts. We did all of that within 2 weeks. And like last year, that would have been months. So it's it's a really incredible. The difference this year is amazing.
Right. And I think I was most fascinated when we had these conversations and I was trying to understand what Worlds does. And that was a very insightful and very, very insightful conversation for me. One, I thought, and I would like some validation from you, is really that the world system really understands the environment it is in, and then also enables the users to be able to create these ad hoc scenarios or workflows and processes based on the physical world. Would I be accurate in saying that?
Yeah, for sure. You're on target. When people ask me, like, what does Worlds do, just in a couple sentences, I like to say it's two primary things. So the first thing we do is that connecting into the existing cameras and sensors and starting to turn what's that signal into live spatial data. So we can become the live spatial data platform for enterprise. So you want to take your operations, understand exactly who's where, when, what's where, when, and when it's happening. We can do that. But then, like you said, the second thing is, what do you do when you have that data? Well, now that you have the real world measurable, you can start to build the AI agents and agentic workflows on top of that to solve virtually any problem. So that's really kind of it. We do those two things very quickly. The big change this year is how fast our partners are doing that. So a year ago, it was us, with our FTEs going into an account and starting to build these agents and workflows. Now we have clients, partners that are doing that themselves without our input, which is fascinating. So it's getting easier and easier to do incredible things with AI in physical environments.
I'm going to change gears now and talk about your startup founder journey. You've been a founder multiple times.
Yeah.
So, curious from a Microsoft startup perspective, what advice do you give for founders looking to successfully build and scale their companies? What advice would you give?
That's another one that I think if they asked me a year ago, it'd be different. I do spend a lot of time mentoring startups. So it's one of the things I love to do. I think I get back from it as much as I give, I think. In the last year and a half, I'll say, and this is, it's, the market's technology, the pace of business, it's all accelerated, and so I think my general advice to founders is, think big, move fast, and then iterate until you reach awesome. That's kind of what I tell people, like the days of creating a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan and then hitting that plan are over, because if you create a 3-year plan and hit it, you weren't paying attention. You should have learned something along the way that had change your business model or something in your product or something like that. So that's one thing, is to iterate until you reach awesome. And then don't scale alone. So form powerful relationships with companies that already have scale and that you can attach onto that scale. Microsoft's been an incredible partner for us in that sense. And Dell, we're now scaling at the edge with Dell, and then with partners, so EY and Slalom. Now we're able to kind of expand our scope of customers now with partners. And maybe the third thing I'd say is just more of a kind of a personal thing to CEOs of startups, and that's like persistence is omnipotence. So when times get tough, and they will, things will get tough. It's that persistent attention on the things that matter will always lead you to greatness. And don't get don't get depressed when things don't work out the way you want. Your situation is not your fate, right? So you can write the end of that story. So I think that's probably the big things for me. But the markets are moving so fast now; it's changed a lot of things in building a startup.
Right. Great advice. Thank you. And also from a Microsoft for Startups perspective, you've been working with us for quite some time, and curious about, how has Microsoft for Startups helped you move faster, gain credibility, scale? Is there anything you'd like to comment on that?
Yeah, it's been, this is my third startup, and so I think the Microsoft for Startups program, especially Pegasus, has been just an incredible experience for us. The team's amazing. They truly care about your company, and they truly want to understand exactly how your technology works, and so they can make intimate matches with customers who can really take advantage of your solutions. And so that's been a big thing. But I think there's lots here. I mean, validation, right? So when we walk into a customer, and we mentioned that we're, in the Pegasus program, we're Microsoft for Startups, it's instant validation, and so it's a kind of a fast track to trust, if you will. So like when startups, it's hard. When you don't have that, you're walking in, you're spending most of your first few meetings establishing credibility, and so we can see some of that, and then I think the connection to enterprise, of course, Microsoft's made at the top of that list. Wow, and so being able to stand on the shoulders of that giant in the enterprise is a wonderful thing. And then I think from a more technical side, just having access to the resources. So we're able to, from getting our stuff on Azure and we can draw up worlds now from inside of Azure and having that support. And then also on the biz dev side. So having support on both sides of the fence, it's just been a fantastic program. We were just privileged to be a part of it.
Thank you. And we value their relationship and collaboration as well. So it's been wonderful working with you, and we'll continue doing that. One last question for today is, I've been tracking a lot of emerging technology. Yeah. Some of the key things that I've been focusing on for this year in the top 3 is physical AI. And you are intertwined in that space very much. So looking at what you see AI and automation continuing to change the future of physical operations. What are your views on where this is going and how you're going to be working in that space?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, we feel fortunate to be where we are. We thought of this problem 3.5 years ago, so we were really working on physical AI before anyone knew about it. But CES just happened, in January. And one of the big 3 themes was that physical AI. Everyone came out talking about physical AI. One of the interesting perspectives, though, they talked about it like an evolution, like there was LLMs and now it's physical AI. We don't look at it that way. I think it's more of a both and kind of a thing where we're going to start we're actually doing things right now. I don't know if you've seen this yet, ShiSh, but we're collapsing large language models with physical AI. And so it's creating this ability for you now to talk to the world and have the world talk back. And so we actually have this deployed and working at one of our largest clients right now. And so I think that's going to be a big part of this is kind of really redefining what interfaces are like, right? So less levers and more conversations with agents and applications. I also think we're going to see more multi-agent architectures this year. So in the past, like when I say the past, like this year, last year,
yeah, we're moving fast.
Yeah. In the past, it's us communicating with agents, right? But now more this year, we're going to see agents working with agents, and even the open cloud stuff that just popped up this week. Some of that, there's a lot of slop in there, but it's also showing a level of autonomy and automation that we've never seen before, and it's giving us a vision into that kind of the Jarvis,
exactly.
kind of interface. So I think that's really exciting. But we think this year is the year for physical AI. This is the year it's going to go mainstream. And I think our market is, our company is kind of a bellwether for that, because we had our most active quarter ever in Q4. And now that's looking like it's going to be Q1's going to beat that. And so all of a sudden, everyone's paying attention and understanding that measuring the world is possible, and that you can not only measure it, but you can actually affect it, so I think this is the year.
And that was very insightful. I actually agree with that, what you just said, which is it's an and. The language aspect is as important as the world aspect or the spatial aspect.
Yeah. They're inseparable, and if it also, like I said, gives voice to the environment, which is kind of a strange thought until you see it. When you see it actually happen, like we have an instance where some guy just didn't believe it. And he said, okay, well, it was a 4 square mile area, it's a huge area, right? He said, find my blue truck, and it came back and said, well, there's one blue truck. It's a Ford F-150. It's and you could talk to the environment, and it's really incredible. And the evolution of that, ShiSh, is even better, because it's not going to be like search. We're talking about having like a reasoning engine where the system itself will actually contact you when it notices something that you need to pay attention to. And so I just say, 2026, 2027 is going to be just a really exciting time for enterprise.
Absolutely. And we look forward to collaborating with you. And very excited about the physical AI space. And also, as you mentioned, the ability not only to talk to the LLMs, but also provide that missing piece, which is the knowledge of the world, which is what you bring in. And that combination is very, very powerful. I think that's where a lot of the use cases that I'm seeing in the physical world going to. That combination. So, yeah.
Yes, it's going to be a great year. It's already started. It's just a rocket ship right now. So we're excited about it.
So this has been a wonderful conversation. We will continue working together and hearing more about what you're doing as we go forward. So thank you very much, Dave, for your time.
Thanks, ShiSh. It's been awesome speaking with you.